This is the Seller Process Podcast, where we talk about the best systems, processes, and SOPs for your Amazon business so that you can regain control of your time, build up your team, and scale your e-com empire.
Hello, entrepreneurs. Welcome to the Seller Process Podcast. I'm very excited for this episode today because we've got an Amazon celebrity on the show. She's a military veteran turned e-commerce seller who spent 18 years working as a war planner in the US Air Force. In fact, today we'll cover how she applies the planning skills she used in the military to her business. I'm talking about Amy Weiss, the CEO of Amazing at-home e-commerce consulting, a world-renowned company that has helped thousands of brands launch private label products. Amazing at Home provides education and consulting to help brands develop unique products, validate them in the marketplace, source at profitable margins, and launch with amazing brand messaging, copywriting, and search engine optimization. Amy, it's a great pleasure to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
That's great. So, Amy, you may or may not know that we love efficiency at the Seller Process Podcast. So I would love to dive right in to the bread and butter of this show, which is planning. You have lots of experience about planning. So I would like to start with understanding what are the common mistakes and misconceptions that most people do. What people do wrong about planning?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think most people in general aren't comfortable with planning. So they don't do planning and they don't do it enough. So a lot of us, we're really good at creating our annual plans and our quarterly plans. We'll go to some business conference and create a vision and a mission and these goals. And then we get stuck in the daily grind. And we forget all of those things that we planned, right? So that is the biggest mistake that people make is they don't get into a planning routine and they don't know how to use their plan to actually implement it in their day-to-day routine, where it would actually make them even more productive and focused.
Right. I can see that. And so can you share a little bit more? How did you master your planning skills and what can everybody do to start this journey of mastering our planning skills?
I think a lot of people try to get better at planning and they take all these classes and stuff. And, the common thing that is taught is like SMART goals, right? Make SMART goals, specific, measurable, all of those things. And in my talks about planning, I say, forget all that. You just need a plan, okay? So the way that I do planning is I simplify it. I do monthly, weekly, and daily planning. Because if you can't keep your plate clean and organized every day, so, when you're spinning, especially as entrepreneurs, you're spinning so many plates. You're often the everything in your business. You're the marketing guy. You're the administrator. You're doing all the things, especially e-commerce entrepreneurs, right? And so you're spinning all these plates and you're dealing with Amazon. You're dealing with all these things. And it's really easy for you to get caught up in the day-to-day and not to focus on what is important to you. And a lot of us, like I said, we'll go to a conference or we'll take some planning training or we'll create our annual vision and we'll just forget all of that. So the tips that I have for you in terms of mastering planning is to get into a regular routine and to keep it simple. So every month, take the time to simply write down your top 3 goals. Your top 3 goals, that's it. Write down your top 3 goals and prioritize those goals. So which of those goals is most important, which is least important, and keep it simple. I don't need you to define metrics at this point. I don't need you to, make it impossible. Just say, I want to accomplish these 3 things this month. And then underneath each of your goals, write down a little to-do list. And again, you don't have to make it impossible to understand or figure everything out. This session of monthly planning shouldn't take you more than 30 minutes. You're taking a piece of paper, you're writing down your top 3 goals. Underneath each goal, you're writing a basic to-do list of 3 or 4 things. All right, I know that I want to relaunch this product this month. That's important to me. I had a quality control issue. I'm going to relaunch this product. Okay, what steps go into relaunching this product? This, and this, right? 4 basic things. It doesn't matter if you're going to outsource those steps or not. as a founder, you're going to take the time. You're just going to go, okay, this is important to me. These are my top 3 goals. This is my to-do list underneath each goal. Then the next thing that I do is I just apply a week number to each thing underneath. We've got 4 weeks in a month. So all we have to do is go, okay, I'm going to do this part of my to-do list for goal number 1 during week 1. I'm going to do this part of my to-do list during weeks 2 through 4, because maybe it's optimizing my pay-per-click advertising. Okay, well, that's going to take me, I'm going to need to do that once a week for each week, right? On this new launch campaign that I just did. Okay, fine. Put weeks 2 to 4 through that. But basically you're laying out the weeks of the month. And now you have a list of what you need to do every week of the month that leads to your goals. Then what I do is weekly planning. So like I said, you just made a list of what you need to do each week of the month. You have priorities now. Then during that weekly planning session, I'll sit down and I'll look at my big they become goals for that week. And that's where I'll kind of get a little bit more in the weeds. I'll go, all right, I'm passing this off to my VA. I'm going to be working on this, and I'm going to chunk out my time on Tuesday and Wednesday this week to do this or this, right? But the bottom line is my plate stays clean and I stay productive because I take the time to write down those 3 goals, write down the tasks that happen underneath those goals, give each one a week number so I know what week of the month I'm focusing on it. And then during that week, I chunk out my time and I know what my priorities are. And that way, when something happens and someone calls me in, or let's say I see a podcast like this, and I'm like, wow, this is just really great information. And maybe somebody gives a really great tip. And I'm like, oh, wow, what could I do with that? And you have a tendency, we humans have a tendency to chase squirrels. So we have a tendency to stop everything and go, oh, that was a really cool tip. Let me go take action on that. But if we've already scheduled out our priorities for the week and we know what we're supposed to be focusing on, what you can do is you can go, okay, that's a cool tip. And I'm going to put that over here. I use Google Keep for that. I put it in what I call my parking lot. That's a term I learned in the military of how to stay focused. I put it over here in my parking lot and I go, you know what? That was a great tip. I love it. I might use it later in one of my planning sessions, but for now, I'm just going to write it down, but put it over here. I'm going to stay focused on what I'm doing. So that's basically how I get into a planning routine. I do daily planning where I look at my schedule for the day. I do weekly planning where I know exactly what I'm going to do during that week. And I do monthly planning at the beginning of every month and put it on your schedule. The last week of the month, Wednesday or Thursday, put that 30 minutes on your schedule and take the time to just sit down, write down those goals, write down your to-do list underneath each goal, give it a week number, put those tasks on Monday of each week of your month. And then during that week or right before that week, take your time to do your chunking out of your time and really focus on your priorities.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, totally makes sense. And guys, this might seem a little bit like a lot of information in one take, because actually she's a pro at planning. So to start with, I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into the first step, which is setting goals, because obviously you are very clear with setting your goals, but because you have like a mind process that you use to set your goals. So can you share some tips or your method, your process to set those goals? Because obviously people, as you said, they listen to a podcast and they would like to implement that thing right away. So it kind of put their own goal, the other goals on wait and do something else. So what can people do to really choose the goals that they should do, that they should choose? That's I think the most important starting step.
Well, this is something that I work with my clients on all the time. And one of the biggest stumbling points to setting goals is that people tend to want to set too many. As you notice, I said set 3 goals. And so for people like me that have multiple companies, I have multiple businesses and I'm a mom and, I'm a wife and all these things. So I do have personal goals as well. So people sometimes get that confused and they go, okay, but why only 3 goals? Like I want to do all the things, but you have to realize you can't do all the things. And there's this little psych trick called positive reinforcement that will help you plan more often if you keep things simple and you keep them achievable. Because when you actually achieve your goals that month, you go back and you look at those goals. Like for me, we write them on the whiteboard, and I do this with my staff every month. We write them on the whiteboard, or we do them in Asana virtually, right? And we will look back at the end of the month. We look back and we look at what we accomplished. A lot of people, they just keep setting new goals and they never look back at what they accomplished and what they could learn from that. And that was one thing in the military that we did on a regular basis, sometimes on a daily basis. We would look back at the plan for the day and say, okay, what did we accomplish? What didn't we? Why not? What did we learn from it? So just getting back to your question about setting goals, I want you to keep them simple. Like I mentioned, 3 goals. If you have multiple buckets like I do, so if you have multiple companies, for me, I've got my consulting firm. So I'll set 3 goals for the month for that consulting firm. And I've got my private label brands. So I will set 3 goals for that. But when you're looking at, and then usually I'll set 1 personal goal, one thing personally that I really want to work on. And then my schedule, I already have, this is key. I already have the fun and the important things to me, like my lunch hour every day, the important things like my me time. I have that already scheduled in. So that way, anything else that I'm setting up, I prioritize my time and not, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. Let me fill up my schedule with all these other things and not have any time for me or my family. So what I do is make sure that I have those things already scheduled in. Every other Friday, I take the day off. I have a spa day, right? I take the day off, I relax, I spend time with family. So the rest of my schedule is managed around that because my priorities are set already in the beginning. So the first tip is to set your priorities of what you want for your life. What is it that you want? Do you want to spend every other Friday at the spa? Is it important to you to sit down at dinner with your family every night? Do that first. Set up those priorities and don't mix them up with your goals. Right? Then when you sit down on your monthly planning session and you go to set your top 3 goals, you're focused on that bucket, right? So like for my private label, what are the 3 things that I need to get done that are important to my growth? If you're not sure what the things are that are important to your growth, you're not tracking any metrics. You're not tracking the right metrics, right? So if you're not sure, I get this all the time. People come to me and go, okay, but all right, here's a whole list of things. I want to eliminate returns. People are returning. I was on a call with a client the other day and she said, I want to talk to you about all these things. I want to improve the product. I want to eliminate these customer returns. I want to fix my PPC campaigns. And I said, okay, wait, what's going on? Like, what of your products are your best sellers? What are your worst sellers? Where can you move the needle? Do you need to reduce cost here? Do you need to improve advertising here? And she didn't know because she wasn't tracking that. So the thing is, if you're not measuring your metrics in your business, then you don't really know what your goals should be. So if you're a person who sits down and tries to implement what I've said today on the podcast, you're like, okay, I'm going to set my 3 goals. And you're like, I don't know what my goals should be. Then you know that you need to seek out some help and learn from a mentor that can teach you how to track what is important to your growth in your business or your personal life, right? What metrics are important and how do you track them? You start there, and that isn't necessarily part of your planning session. Remember, our planning session is short. These are my top 3 goals because I know that this product has potential and I know exactly what I need to do with it for it to grow. So I'm going to remarket it. I'm going to relaunch it, right? I've got a quality control problem. That's one of my top goals this month. So that's what I would say is first, schedule in your personal time. Make sure that you know what's important to you and that's already on your schedule. That's not part of your goal planning session. Second, make sure that you understand what is going to move the needle for you so that you can make those planning sessions short and sweet and you know what your goals should be. And if you don't, find a mentor that can help you because that's going to save you so much time and energy. And then third, keep them simple. And it's okay if you have to separate the buckets because you have multiple companies, right? You can set 3 goals for this one, set 3 goals for this one, but 3 goals because you want to achieve them. You want to keep them simple, right? You don't want this huge list that's unachievable and then immediately you just lose motivation.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's really one of the most important thing. Keep them simple, but just few. Other than simple, they must be just few. 3 at the best. I would suggest sometimes even just 1 or 2. I mean, depends what's your goals. So let's say you have clear what your goals are, because maybe for most people who are listening, they have their own Amazon business or e-commerce business. Most of them, I would guess, they have a goal to either launch more products or increase their revenue or optimize their products or run better PPC ads, something like that. Many people goes into that those kinds of goals. But then I think most people, as you said, they fall into setting the right metrics to track those goals, because maybe they start with excitement. Okay, let's go, let's do this, let's try to achieve this goal, but they cannot keep up because they don't have the right metrics to follow. They don't even know where they're going sometimes, and don't have any, as we said, like metrics to track their performance. So let's try to dive a little bit deeper into metrics. How would you suggest people to understand what are the best metrics for them, and how should they track? Should they use how can they do it, like through some tools or software? How can they understand better their metrics?
Sure. Yeah. In the military planning process, like I said, I simplify this for business just to get in a habit of planning. But we do things called, we set our goals, but then we apply measures to those goals. And those are called MOEs and MOPs. So measures of effectiveness and measures of performance. So when you have a big goal, right? When you have a big goal, like I want to grow my sales by $10,000 a month, right? Whatever, right? Whatever that is. In the next 3 months, you've got those big SMART goals that you've set out, and M is measurable. But what is the measure? I think the thing that people forget to do is they forget to define the measure. And so what you should be asking yourself is, okay, if I want to grow my sales by $10,000 a month, what is the measure of performance? What is it that's going to tell me that I have done that? And how do I check, right? So the measure of performance is, okay, I look in, my Amazon Seller Central, and I see that my revenue has grown, right? But what is your measure of effectiveness? So yes, I've marked that off. I've actually checked that my revenue has grown by 10,000. But what do I need to do to get there? What are those measures that are going to make me grow by 10,000? People come to me all the time and they say, Amy, I have this product. It's great. I'm not making as many sales as I want to make. I want to double the sales. I want to triple the sales of this product. And I'll bring up the market for this product. I'll look on the page ones that they should be on, and I'll see what the high performers are, and I'll study the competition. And then I'll go, okay, well, the top performer on this page is only making 30 sales a month. So what makes you think that you're going to be able to make 80 sales a month? You're only on this one channel, right? And you've set your sales goals, but your sales goals aren't based on anything around you that you could take from, right? So many people, well, I want to get this product to $10,000 more a month in revenue. Okay, but is that possible? How can you define the measures of effectiveness? Are you going to match your top competitor on the page, right? And how are you going to do that? So if first I say, okay, I want to double my sales. Well, is there anyone else who has that many sales that's on the page that has a similar product as you? Okay, what are they doing? Can you study them? Can you study your enemies like we do in the military, right? And see, what are they doing, right? You should be doing the same thing. Look at their web footprints, see what they're doing. Now you have some metrics. You go, okay, well, they're advertising on Google. Wonder if that would work for me, right? Where are their sales coming from? We can't just hope and wish to double our sales and then, pick anything like, oh, well, let me run some more PPC. Okay, well, is that where their traffic is coming from? just because you run more PPC on one keyword, does that mean you're going to be effective at matching their sales? No. So what you need to do is you need to look at your measures. How are you going to achieve that goal? What are the steps? And then what are the things around it that you can measure? Obviously, for my big goal, I can just check Seller Central and see that I got $10,000 more that month. Cool. But what are the things that are going to get me there? Okay, well, I'm going to match this specific competitor. I'm going to study what they're doing. I'm going to look at what's going to work for me and if I can steal some of that traffic. And here are the steps to do it. And here are the measures of effectiveness along the way. I'm going to start this Facebook ad and I'm going to create this video that appeals to this other side of the customer interest level, right? Because I think this will help me steal their traffic, right? But then how do I make sure that that Facebook video is actually effective? What are the measures? What do I need to do to check that? Am I getting clicks? What's going on there, right? So I think it's a lot and people get overwhelmed in the metrics, but you have to have some standard with which to measure your goals by, and you need to define that.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the most important thing into progressing in a goal. So Emmy just shared two acronyms that are used in the military, MOE and MOP, measure of effectiveness and measure of performance. So think about that. You should ask yourself the right questions. So ask yourself, what is the measure of performance of this goal? So, and then you can dive deeper and find, for example, that, optimizing the listing, it can be a measure, or how fast you turn an order into actually have the inventory in stock in Amazon. Several metrics that can allow you to actually measure how effectively are you reaching that goal. And in all this process, I'm curious to know if you are using any software to help you with the planning. So let's say after we have set our goals and we're clear on the metrics, we have this cadence of plan, like daily planning, weekly planning, and monthly planning. Like, how are you putting all these together? Is there any tool that you can suggest us?
Yeah, so there's a few tools that I use. When I first started in my businesses and it was just me, and I was the everything, I started with just Google tools. So what I would do is write down my goals on a piece of paper. So I knew what those were. And then I would write down the to-do list for each goal, right? Give it a week number, right? And then I do what's called piling the tasks on a Monday. So I've got, 3 or 4 week one goals, let's say, from this week one tasks, and I will pile them all in Google Tasks on the Monday of week one. And then all of my goals or tasks from week 2, I pile them on the task list in Google Tasks for week 2. Same thing, week 3, week 4, right? And now I've got, if I look at my schedule, what's cool about Google Tasks is they show up on your calendar, your Google Calendar. So, and you can click on them and you can move them around, So during my weekly planning sessions, which usually happen the Thursday or the Friday, depends if I have that Friday off or not, but that weekly planning session for the next week usually happens that Thursday or Friday the week before. So that Thursday or Friday, I'll sit down and I'll look at my next week. And of course, I got this big pile of tasks on Monday. And what I'll do is I'll look and go, okay, yeah, these easy tasks, I'm going to do all the easy, like the quick knockout things, the quick administrative things. I'll do those on Wednesday. So I'll click and drag them over. And then, on Mondays and Tuesdays are my high consulting days. I consult on those days and I'm busy with clients all day long. So I don't really put any tasks on there unless it's related to my schedule for that day. And then Thursday and Friday, I will look through and see, what I need to do. And then I'll chunk out that time using my Google Calendar. So now that I have a team, I've got 12 folks that work for me for Amazing at Home. And I have 5 folks that work for me on my private label brands. Now that I have a team, I use Asana. Asana is kind of like Monday or ClickUp, but I put all of the tasks in Asana on that Monday, right? And I've synced it with my Google Calendar, so it shows up, right? And then at the beginning of the week, I look in Asana and I see, and Asana has a calendar function as well. So you can click on the calendar and you can see, okay, this is what I've got going on this week. And then I move things around. During that weekly planning session, I go, okay, what am I going to do this week on what days based on my schedule? Look at my schedule and I'll actually chunk out the time, because chunking out the time for a task on your schedule allows you to say no. So when people come to you and they say, will you be on my podcast? Or can you do this for me? You want to be a yes person. But if you have things scheduled out, you can say, no, I'm sorry, I don't have any time this week, but I can fit you in next week, right? And then you can work that in. But so for me, a big part of my weekly planning, not only is kind of dragging those tasks around, but also chunking out the time that it will take me to really focus on that task and not let other things bother me. I turn off my phone, all of that. If I'm writing an Amazon listing, for example, I know that's about a 3 to 4 hour process. And I chunk out that time on my calendar, and nobody can bother me during that time because I'm focused and I know it's already scheduled. So I love Asana. I love Google Tasks. I love Google Keep for those parking lot items because it's fully searchable and it's digital. And then my other tip for you, no matter what tools you use, would be also to put the apps on your phone, because you're a busy entrepreneur and things are going to happen. You're going to go to a conference and you're going to learn something new. You're going to be on the go and you're going to go, oh my gosh, I forgot to optimize the PPC. I created it yesterday. Oh man. Okay. Let me pop that in my task list right now and put it in there. So I always have Asana. I've got Google Tasks on my phone. I've got Google Keep on my phone, so that when I'm on the go, I can use that voice to text function, and I can get things in my phone. And then those things, most importantly, transfer over to my computer so that I'm not having to sit on my phone all day and go, oh, where was that? Oh, I need my phone for that, right? Everything kind of transfers over. And I love the software of today. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Those help you so much. And I'm very glad that what you just mentioned, because it's very similar to what I'm already doing. So I'm relieved that I'm doing similar to a planning pro. And actually, guys, I can really endorse the use of Asana. It really helped me to step up my productivity a lot. After I started using Asana with my team. So, and definitely you can actually use it for yourself, even if you don't have any team. It's going to help you.
What I love about Asana are all the integrations. So it's replaced my emails and chat between the team, because you can send messages and tag your team. And in that, you can tag a task or a project. So you can just hit the @ sign in Asana and you can tag a person or a task or a project, and then they can click on that. After they get tagged, they get notified, and they can click on that and it will take them there. It also integrates with Google Drive. So all of the people that are like, man, I keep everything in Google, but I can't find anything, it's just all a mess. You can actually integrate your Google Drive with Asana, and now you can attach a file or a link directly to Google Drive. So it's very quick. So it has replaced all of the other tools that we use, including email, including chat, because now we can just tag each other and we always have context. The other thing that is key, and this is especially key if you're growing your team or if you're trying to figure out as a founder how you're spending your time. And I know Gianmarco's a big fan of Mike Michalowicz, so am I. And we need to be tracking our time. Before we go to hire someone, before we go to figure out, what we need to be doing, we need to be tracking our time. So the other app that I love that integrates with Asana is Clockify. Clockify is free, and it's free for your whole team. So I have my whole team on Clockify, and it's not to be, a helicopter boss and, be tracking every little thing they do. It's more so that we can all track our time, myself included. If I start working on a task, I can click start timer in Asana, and Clockify will track that. And then I can look back at my week and I can go, okay, I spent 18 hours this week on email. I probably need an administrator. You know what I mean? So I think you should really be tracking your time and using that time tracking to build out your org chart and figure out who you need to hire. And now you have a list of duties for them, which makes hiring really, really easy. And yeah, so that's another tool that I love.
Definitely. These are great tips, guys. You should really follow these great productivity tips. And actually, we do have a full episode on time tracking directly from Adrian Dorson, who is the co-founder of Clockwork, together with Mike Michalowicz. So you can go back and check that episode that goes deep into time tracking. But definitely, this is another great tip for productivity. And Emmy, we're running out of time, but I really would love to ask you the last quick question, because I think it's one of the most important thing in planning. It's another acronym. This is AAR, after action review. It's an acronym used in the military, which I'm sure you're familiar with. After action review, it's essentially the debrief after putting in practice our plan. So can you tell us, like, quickly, what should we do after planning and acting on our plan? The debrief, why is so important, and what should we do? And some tips. Share with us some tips for an effective debrief.
Yeah, so debrief is a huge thing. It is a skill that is practiced often in the military, and it often will offend people because in the military, when we debrief, we point fingers. We point fingers, and we also take personal responsibility. And so when I was moving from the air, working in the air war side of things to cyber, I moved into the cybersecurity side of things. They were trying to apply in cyber some of the same tricks as come from the air war world, because this is a much older world. It's more established, and the planning techniques are very robust, right? And they're very flushed out. So I noticed, like, my team, whenever I would debrief with my team in cyber, using the same techniques that I would use from the air war side, I would often get people kind of upset. Like, well, it seems like you're blaming me for that. Or it seems like, and the thing is, the definition of insanity is repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again. We don't want to repeat the same mistakes, especially not in our business. We want to learn from them. And when it comes to the military, we can't repeat the same mistakes because we might be dead. So, we need to make sure that we're learning from our mistakes, and we're learning from the things that we accomplish and the things that we don't accomplish. So we need to be looking at our goals at the end of the month. So the first thing you should do during your monthly planning session, before you start writing down your goals, you should look back at the previous month. And I actually do this with my mastermind group. We have a monthly planning session together every month, and people love it. They're like, it's made me so productive in my business. I love it, But the first thing that we do is we talk about one thing that we accomplished the previous month that was on our goal list, right? Because it's important to reflect. And I always remind them, if they didn't accomplish something that was important to them, to start looking into why. What happened? What happened? Did I drop the ball here? Did I not do a weekly planning session? Did I not schedule it? What happened? Follow it down. Keep asking why until you get to the real root of the problem, even if that's looking in the mirror at yourself, at something that you're lacking that you need to get over, right? So the big thing is that if we are taking the time to plan, and we're taking the time to accomplish our goals, but we're not taking the time to actually look at why we accomplished a goal or why we didn't accomplish a goal, and dig in and document those, what we call in the military, IFs, or instructional fixes, and lessons learned, then what are we doing? So what we do in Asana, our team, in our monthly planning session, we will first look back at the previous month and go, okay, what tasks do we still have here that we have not accomplished, and what's going on with them? What's happening, and we will have some time to actually take a look and find out why we don't have those things accomplished. And then we will document what the fix is, and that becomes a task for the next month. Right? Okay, we've identified during this debrief that, the reason that we didn't upgrade the website is because we don't have the plugins that we need, we don't have the knowledge that we need, and we need to hire this person, right? So now that becomes one of our goals for next month, or that becomes a task for someone on the team. And we're documenting that at the time during that session. If you just skip over that task is going to keep getting kicked down the road, and people are going to keep making excuses, and we're never going to deal with it. So that's what we have to do. We have to look at what did we accomplish? What didn't we accomplish? Why not take the time to identify the fix and implement the fix? Yeah,
exactly. Absolutely, guys. I think this is one of the most important things you can do. And actually, for those of you who were adapting how to set up their goals and what would be their metrics, that's the answer. That basically the debrief is what makes close the cycle. So basically, the very first time you just plan and go with it, and if you don't reach the goal, you just do the debrief and really reflect upon what were the causes that determine your result, and then based on those you learn something, and then you can base your next planning session on those things that you've learned. So that's a cycle. You learn, you plan based on the learning, and then you act, and action generate results, and results generate learning. In this case, only if you build up the habit of AAR, after action review. So guys, it was a really value-packed session today, and I would like to thank you, Amy, for sharing all her knowledge with us. And she actually gave us a very interesting white paper, about 9 pages on everything that she talked about today, and even more. Actually, it's a much more in-depth white paper talking about planning, goal setting, and task tracking, where you can learn the step-by-step process that she's using in her business to plan, set goals, and track her tasks. And you can find that, you can download that in the show notes in the episode at the sellerprocess.com or wherever you're listening this podcast in. And so before we close, Amy, tell us where people can find you if they would like to reach out. And I think also you gave us a little trial on your mastermind membership. So feel free to tell us about that.
Yeah. Again, thank you so much for having me. I love talking about this stuff. And I didn't realize that my skills in planning were even a thing until I started teaching them in my courses and during my consulting calls, and people gave me feedback that it made such a big impact. I guess I just took for granted all of, those planning skills that I was forced to implement in the military. So I definitely appreciate it now. And I'm glad that I can help others get into a planning routine. So thank you so much for allowing me to do that. Anyone can reach me at amazingathome.com. You can, check out everything that we have to offer there. We're a full service agency. We can help you with anything from consulting for your business to help you fixing things, to help you developing a plan, helping you in developing a plan. And we also have a mastermind group. And with that mastermind group, you get access to our full course vault. So we have a full private label course. It's a 60-hour graduate level course on everything and how to work with suppliers, how to negotiate, how to actually do product research in a new way, in a different way, all of that. So you get access to our course vault as part of our mastermind membership, and we do weekly group coaching sessions together. So it's a great group, and we just help each other kind of move forward. And the link to that is in the show notes. So you'll save $50 off of that, and then you also get the white paper. But reach out anytime. We also have a Facebook group. It's called Amazing at Home. So check it out. We're very active there, and we keep that group very small. We don't approve any, if you're a VA, you don't get approved in the group. It's for sellers only. It is supposed to be, value first. And we're there to help each other and support each other on that journey. So check us out there. You can come into Amazing at Home Facebook group anytime and ask your questions as well.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you again for sharing all your knowledge. And guys, take advantage of this offer. Save $50 to join her mastermind membership. And remember to download the complimentary white paper included in this episode that will tell you more about how she's planning. We'll go in more details about her goal setting process and how she track tasks using the software that we just mentioned. Thank you again, Amy, and I hope to see you again in next episode, probably. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Hey entrepreneurs, I hope you enjoyed the show and learned something from the interview. Subscribe to this channel so you won't miss the next episodes, and remember to go grab the free downloads of this episode at thesellerprocess.com. And don't forget to sign up to our free email list to get the latest systems and SOPs shared exclusively with our subscribers. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.